My mother-in-law always defended my husband's affairs, saying, men will be men. One day, I set up a fake dating profile and catfished him. He showed up to the date, only to find me sitting there, smiling. Before he could speak, his mother walked in, furious. She screamed, "How could you do this to my son?" I laughed and showed her his messages. She turned to him, shocked, "Wait. You were cheating on me too? This is about me, 34 female, my husband, 37 male, and my mother-in-law. Let's call my husband Caleb, and his mom Marla. We live in Naperville, Illinois. One of those places where everyone waves at each other on the sidewalk and HOA sends you a letter if your grass is half an inch too tall." On the outside, everything looked normal. You'd think we were the ideal couple. But things were falling apart quietly for a while. I've been married to Caleb for 7 years. Together for 9. We don't have kids. At first, I thought we were waiting until we were more stable. But I see now he never really wanted a stable life with me. Just the illusion of one. At first, Caleb was charming. Funny, charismatic, smart. He could talk his way out of a hostage situation. My family liked him. Friends adored him. But little things started to happen. And they piled up. I started noticing small changes about 3 years into the marriage. He'd come home late and say he had to stay longer at the office. He was glued to his phone and took it into the bathroom, the garage, even when he was mowing the lawn. He changed his passwords and told me it was for work security. He started sleeping facing away from me. Not every night. But enough. I brought it up. I asked him if he was seeing someone. He laughed. Called me paranoid, jealous, said I had nothing to worry about. And the worst part? His mom always backed him up. I told Marla once that I was worried Caleb might be talking to other women. Her response? "Oh honey, all men do that. Don't nag him. You'll push him away." She'd say things like, "You know Caleb has a strong appetite. At least he's coming home to you. He's just working through a phase." She never looked concerned. Never asked how I felt. She acted like this was just part of being a wife, like I should accept it the way people accept winter or taxes. At first I thought she was just old-fashioned. But the way she talked? It was like Caleb was some kind of prince who couldn't be held responsible for his own actions. One night, I found a receipt in his jeans from a fancy restaurant downtown. For 2. We hadn't been out in weeks. I waited until he got home and calmly asked him about it. He didn't even blink. Said he had a client meeting. I didn't say anything else that night. But that's when something in me shifted. I stopped crying. I stopped hoping he'd tell me the truth. And I started watching. I made a fake dating profile. Not out of revenge. I wanted proof. I used a fake name, Riley. I picked a woman who looked nothing like me. Tall, blonde, different build. Used pictures from an old hair blog that wasn't active anymore. I said Riley was a yoga teacher who liked wine, hiking, and chill nights in. Basically, I built her around the stuff Caleb always said he liked. I wanted to see if he'd bite. He matched with Riley within 2 days. I didn't message him first. He reached out with, "Hey, you look like trouble in a good way. What brings you here?" I felt like I was going to throw up. He told Riley that he was married but unhappy. That his wife, me, was too intense and always watching him. That he needed escape. He told her she looked like someone he could breathe around. He said things like, "I feel stuck. I haven't felt alive in years. My wife and I don't even kiss anymore." All lies. I still cooked him breakfast every morning. Kissed him before work. Asked about his day. And he was out here talking about me like I was the prison warden. He wanted to meet Riley in person. Said he was ready for a real connection. So we made a plan to meet at this upscale wine bar near downtown Naperville. A place we used to go to on anniversaries. That's when I decided I wasn't going to face him alone. I invited Marla. I told her I had a surprise plan for Caleb, like a flash anniversary gesture. Said I wanted her to be there and help me pull it off. She lit up. Probably thought it was her time to shine. I told her to arrive 10 minutes after Caleb. She agreed. No questions asked. I got to the bar early. Wore a dress he once said was too revealing for his wife. Sat at the booth where Riley told him to meet. I waited. My heart was pounding. I couldn't feel my hands. When Caleb walked in, he was wearing cologne. The one he stopped using around me a year ago. He looked around. Didn't see Riley. Then he saw me. He froze. I watched his face change from excitement to confusion to fear. I didn't say anything. I just smiled. And then, like a badly timed movie scene, Marla walked in. She saw me. Then saw Caleb. She was confused for half a second. Then furious. She stomped over and yelled, "How could you do this to my son?" Everyone in the bar turned to look. She was red in the face, breathing hard. She looked like she was about to slap me. Then I pulled out my phone. I had screenshots. Every message. Every disgusting word. I read them out loud. Calmly. You said you wanted someone who could help you feel alive again? You said I made you feel dead? You said you hadn't kissed me in months, even though you kissed me last night? Marla was silent. Then she turned to Caleb. Eyes wide. Voice shaking. And she said, "Wait. You were cheating on me too?" I can't describe the silence that followed. It was like time stopped. Caleb opened his mouth and nothing came out. And I realized something was very, very wrong. So there we were. Me, sitting at the table. Caleb, frozen in front of me like he saw a ghost. And Marla, red-faced and shaking, staring at her son like she just discovered she didn't know him at all. And then she said it again, but quieter this time. Like she didn't believe her own words, "You were cheating on me too?" I looked at her, confused. Cheating on her? What did that even mean? Caleb dropped into the seat across from me. Didn't speak. Didn't blink. Marla sat down too, but not beside him, opposite him. She looked furious. But not at me anymore. She wasn't defending him. Her whole body was stiff, like she was holding herself together with thread. That's when Marla said, "Tell her, Caleb. Tell her what you told me last Christmas. When she went to see her sister in Michigan." My stomach dropped. That trip was only 2 days. Caleb said he was working late both nights. I thought nothing of it. Caleb's jaw tightened. He looked like he wanted to disappear. Marla said again, louder, "Tell her what you said to me." Still silence. So she said it herself. "He told me he wanted out of the marriage. He said he couldn't stand you anymore. That he was just waiting until you left first so he didn't look like the bad guy." She turned to me. "He asked me to convince you to move back with your sister. Said maybe if I pushed you hard enough, you'd take the hint." I couldn't breathe. The room wasn't just spinning, it was flipping upside down. So all those little comments Marla made? The guilt trips, the fake concern, the subtle pressure for me to give him space? That wasn't clueless mother-in-law behavior. That was planned. They were both playing me. But now something else was clear. She thought she was in on the plan. But Caleb? He was playing her, too. Marla suddenly stood up. Grabbed her purse like she was about to walk out. Then stopped mid-step and turned to Caleb. "You said you needed me. That I was the only one who understood you." She was shaking now. Her voice cracked. "You used me, Caleb. You sat there, cried in my kitchen, told me I was your safe place, your real family. You made me lie for you. And now you go behind my back with her too?" "Me, her who?" Marla blinked like she forgot I was sitting there. Caleb muttered something I couldn't hear. So I asked again, "Her who?" Marla sat back down. Face pale. Hands shaking. And then she said it, "There's someone else. Another woman. Not just Riley." She looked like she was going to throw up. "I found her underwear in your laundry room 2 months ago. You told me they were yours. That you were seeing a therapist who said wearing women's clothes helped you relax." I just stared. Caleb didn't even react. No shame. He just whispered, "It helped me sleep." So let's recap, because at this point my brain was struggling to keep up. He was cheating on me with random women through dating apps. He was emotionally manipulating his own mother. He lied to her face about who he was seeing. He may or may not have been wearing another woman's underwear and claiming it as therapy. I didn't even know what was real anymore. Marla started crying. But it wasn't pretty crying. It was ugly, gasping, mascara-streaked sobbing. She clutched her bag like it was the only thing keeping her upright. "You made me your accomplice," she kept whispering. "And Caleb?" He just stared at the table like he wasn't even there. Just when I thought the night couldn't get worse, I heard a voice behind me. A woman's voice. "Caleb?" We all turned. There was a woman standing there, maybe in her late 20s. Tight dress. Tall heels. Too confident. Way too confident for someone walking into this mess. Caleb looked up. His face finally changed. Maya, he said, barely audible. She stepped forward. You weren't answering your phone. I saw your location on SnapMap. I thought maybe, then she saw me. Then Marla. And slowly put it all together. You brought your mom to a date with another woman? You could have heard a pin drop. So when we left off, this woman, Maya, walked into the wine bar. She looked good. Too good to be a casual fling. She called Caleb by name. Stared him down in front of me and Marla. And then, without hesitation, she asked, why is your wife here? Not ex-wife. Not friend. Wife. So yeah, she knew who I was. Which means this wasn't just some random girl off an app. I turned to her slowly and asked, you knew about me? And her reply? Yeah. He said you were separated. Said it was temporary. Said you were moving out next month. I wanted to throw the table. Now we're all seated. 4 of us. At a table meant for 2. Me. Caleb. Marla. And Maya, the maybe girlfriend, maybe scam victim, maybe co-conspirator, I still couldn't tell. Maya looked calm on the outside, but her hands were clenched. She had that tight smile. The kind women get when they know something but aren't ready to say it yet. Caleb tried to talk. Maya, this isn't the time, but she cut him off. You said your wife abused you, Caleb. You said she hit you. My heart dropped. I looked at him, stunned. You what? Maya kept going, you told me she threatened to ruin your career. That she had dirt on you. That you were only staying until your lawyer told you it was safe to leave. I wanted to scream. Instead, I pulled out my phone and slid it across the table. Check the messages, I told her. I catfished him. This whole meeting was planned. She opened them. Scrolled. Read. And her mouth slowly fell open. You called me clingy in these texts. She looked at Caleb. You told Riley I was some girl who wouldn't leave you alone. That you had to manage me. But Maya wasn't done. She looked right at Marla and said, he told me you were dead. Marla blinked. Excuse me? He said his mother died of cancer 5 years ago. Said he was raised by an aunt. Said he doesn't talk about her because it brings up too much pain. I thought Marla was going to faint. She sat there, eyes wide, whispering, he told people I was dead? Maya nodded slowly. He even showed me a fake obituary. A fake obituary. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This man was lying so deep, he was digging into the earth's crust. Caleb finally lost it. I didn't want her to find out about you, he yelled at Maya. She ruins everything. She always does this. And that's when it hit me. This wasn't just a serial cheater. This man was a manipulator on a level I didn't even know existed. There was this eerie pause. All of us sitting in silence. Nobody knew what to say next. We were beyond shock. Beyond anger. This was a car crash happening in slow motion. That's when Maya stood up. I'm pregnant. Everyone froze. I stared at her. Marla gasped. Caleb went completely white. I just found out last week, Maya said, her voice shaking for the first time. And I was trying to decide whether to tell you. She turned to me. But I think you deserve to know too. Caleb whispered, it's not mine, Maya snapped, I wasn't sleeping with anyone else, Caleb. Just you. Every single night for the last 3 months. While you were texting Riley and lying to this woman and pretending your own mother was dead. He stood up so fast his chair fell over. He pointed at all of us like we were the problem. You're all ganging up on me. None of you understand. I've been under pressure. I've been trying to figure things out. He looked at me. You've been distant. You made me feel unwanted. What was I supposed to do? Me, so you made your mom an accomplice, catfished yourself into your own trap, made up a fake death, and got someone pregnant? Then Marla, quiet this whole time, just whispered, I don't even know who you are anymore. And for the first time, Caleb looked scared. Not angry. Not defensive. Just scared. But Marla wasn't finished. Marla pulled something from her purse. An envelope. Thick. I didn't want to do this here, she said. But you've made it impossible. She looked at me. I hired a private investigator 3 months ago. I didn't believe you at first. I believed him. But I was starting to have doubts. She slid the envelope across to me. It's all in there. Names. Hotels. Texts. Receipts. There's at least 5 women I know of. I didn't even open it. I just stared at Caleb, who looked like he was about to be sick. And that's when the manager came over and asked us to leave. I'm sorry, folks, but we've had multiple complaints. We're going to have to ask you to continue this conversation elsewhere. I picked up the envelope. Maya grabbed her purse and walked straight out the door without another word. Marla? She stayed seated. Her hands trembling. Looking at her son like she didn't recognize him anymore. We were kicked out of the wine bar. The manager was polite but firm. People had stopped pretending not to watch. Phones were probably recording. Caleb looked like he wanted to melt into the floor. Marla was pale, clutching her purse. Maya? Long gone. We stepped out into the parking lot. It was cold. Quiet. Empty except for the 4 of us. That's when everything came to a head. Marla turned to Caleb and unleashed. I spent years defending you. I turned my back on this woman, she pointed at me, because I believed you. You told me she was crazy. Controlling. Cold. You made me look her in the eye and tell her it was normal for a husband to stray. She stepped closer. Voice trembling. You lied to me about everything. You had the nerve to say I was dead to someone else? That's more than a lie. That's sick. She slapped him. Not hard, but hard enough to stun everyone. You're not my son anymore. Caleb didn't speak. His face cracked, like he just now realized he couldn't fix it with a smile or some excuse. And then it was my turn. I took a deep breath and stepped forward. I thought you were broken. That I could help you. That maybe if I just held on longer, you'd come back to me. I gave up parts of myself to keep this marriage alive. I lost friends. Missed family events. Swallowed so many red flags I should have choked. But you weren't broken. You were just good at pretending. I paused. You didn't cheat because you were confused. You cheated because you didn't care who you hurt. He tried to talk. Said, I was scared you'd leave me if I told you the truth. I laughed. Short. Bitter. You didn't give me the chance to choose. You made that decision for me. Over and over again. Marla walked away first. She didn't even say goodbye. Just got in her car and left. Caleb stood there like a man with no idea where to go. Please, he said quietly. Don't leave me like this. I shook my head. You left me a long time ago, Caleb. I just finally caught up. I turned and walked. Didn't run. Just walked. Got in my car and drove home to a house I didn't want to share anymore. That night, I locked the bedroom door. Slept in peace for the first time in years. Maya called me 3 days later. She was sobbing. I didn't know. I swear, I didn't know. I believed her. She sounded broken. She said she'd blocked him. Said she was keeping the baby, for herself. He begged me to get rid of it, she said. Said it would ruin his life. I didn't say much. Just told her, it might feel like your life's falling apart, but trust me, you're actually being set free. Caleb sent long, emotional emails. One said he was getting help. Another said he missed the way I laughed. One just had a picture of us from our honeymoon in Door County with the caption, I was happiest here. Can we go back? I didn't answer any of them. He moved out 2 weeks after the wine bar night. Took only a suitcase and his gaming chair. Marla showed up at my door with a pie. Of all things. I don't expect forgiveness, she said. But I wanted you to know I was wrong. So wrong. We sat. Talked. Cried. She admitted that part of her always suspected Caleb was lying, but she didn't want to believe her son was capable of all that. I raised a liar, she said, tears in her eyes. And I let you be his shield. It's been 6 months. The divorce was finalized 2 weeks ago. Clean split. No contest. Caleb didn't even show up to the final court date. Maya and I check in sometimes. She's almost 5 months along now. She found a job in Aurora and is planning to raise the baby solo. She said she wants her child to grow up knowing the truth. Marla and I? We're not close but we're okay. She writes cards sometimes. Sends flowers on holidays. It's strange, but it doesn't feel fake anymore. As for me? I'm still healing. I stopped waiting for closure. Some people never give it to you. You have to build it yourself. Love doesn't fix someone who doesn't want to be fixed. Gaslighting is real and dangerous. Sometimes, the betrayal isn't just your partner. It's the people who helped cover for them. Trust your gut. Always. I used to think being a good wife meant sacrificing. Now I think it means having boundaries. And keeping them. I don't know what comes next. I don't know if I'll fall in love again. I don't even know if I want to. But I know one thing for sure, I'd rather be alone in truth than partnered in lies. That's it. That's the whole story. Thanks for reading. If you're going through something similar, you're not crazy. You're not overreacting. You're just finally waking up. Don't ignore it. You deserve peace.